Manchester United are planning to be active in the January window, and if you watch the performance versus Bournemouth, you can see exactly why INEOS will likely be active in the January window, but it all depends on the price and the players available. Now, reports are coming out today that Manchester United are planning on making a move for Osimhen. Now, I would say take it with a pinch of salt. It's not come from Romano, it's not come from Ornstein, but there is a few rumours speculating about. We will talk about those rumours. There's talk of Theo Hernandez to Manchester United. We know lots of reports have said that United are planning on signing a left wing back. Romano says Manchester United will sign a left wing back in 2025. He can't clarify whether it'll be January or summer. It depends on the options available. But there is a lot of reports about Man United in the January window. Ruben Amorim has spoken out about his formation as he's getting criticism that it doesn't work, which I think is ridiculously unfair. He's just come in. The truth about why Amad Diallo wasn't played under Eric Ten Hag has been revealed. A few other stories, but Marcus Rashford is feeling sold out by INEOS. He's not happy with the way he's been treated by INEOS. Is it a Jim Ratcliffe thing? Is it an Amorim thing? Why has Rashford been dropped? And what has Ruben Amorim had to say on that situation? Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another Manchester United 10-minute news show. I want to talk about this story first of all before I get into the other big stories, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, Amorim should play a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. You know, it suits the players we have. The players that we have at Manchester United do best suit a 4 at the back. Dalot, Bruno, Maino, Rashford, they all suit a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1 if lined up well. They do. That's why I think Ruben Amorim did well. But this is the thing. Were Manchester United world beaters in a 4-2-3-1? No. We were still pretty crap playing a 4-2-3-1, playing a 4-3-3. It's not making a drastic difference to how bad we were in the 4 at the back formation. Number 2, if we play a 4 at the back now, next season when we go to play a 3 at the back, Amorim will then learn which players can't play in a 3 at the back next season, 2 years into his rebuild, which will set him back further in his second season. Ten Hag adapted massively in his first season, did well. Second season and third season couldn't do well when he tried to implement what he wanted to implement. Amorim wants to implement it from the start, so we will just see progress and he can figure out which players can perform now and who he needs to sell and buy in the January window. And this is what Ruben Amorim has said on this. We have 2 ways. Forget the new idea and try and cope, and the next year we'll be here with the same problem, or we start now, risk, suffer a little bit, and we'll be better next year. And he's spot on. Absolutely spot on. And that answers that question. Now, Ruben Amorim was asked about Marcus Rashford for the millionth, billionth, trillionth time, and I feel like the Rashford Amorim situation is just getting boring. But this was said on Rashford. Of course, it's a hard situation, but I understand that kind of players, that they have a lot of people around them making some choices that are not sometimes the first idea of the player. Now, this isn't the first time it's been said that there's people around Rashford that may tell him what he wants to hear or make decisions that maybe aren't in his best interest. We were also told that with Sancho. Some of the bigger players do have people around them that won't help them, when it comes to getting back on track. Ruben Amorim said, I understand I can separate things. I'm always here for helping Marcus as another player. They have to do what they have to do. I say they choose to do an interview. It's not just Marcus, and I understand that. For me as a coach, I'm just focused on the performance, the way he trains. The rest, it's better for me and the club to deal with that when the time comes. At the moment, I'm just focused on improving Marcus. We need a lot in this moment from a talented guy like Marcus. I forget for now. The interview, I just see what I see on the pitch. What Ruben Amorim is essentially saying with Rashford is if he trains hard and he performs well on the pitch, he will play regardless of the interview, and he's focused on improving Rashford. And if he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. He's going to give Rashford a bit of discipline for the interview, but I think after the 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth, Garnacho missing a sitter, I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford gets back in the squad versus Wolves. But what Ruben Amorim is saying to Rashford is you only get back in the squad if you show certain levels in training and you show certain levels on the pitch, giving him a bit of a kick up the arse, which he may need. It may benefit him. This could be the start of a new Rashford where he comes back in and he looks good again because he's had that kick up the arse. This could be the beginning of the end for Rashford. I don't know. I hope it's the first. It could be the second. I do think Rashford will be back in. He could be sold in January for sure. I don't think he's played his last game for Manchester United yet. I think he could come back in. I think with the 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth, I think he probably will come back in. But Ruben Amorim's been very disciplinary with him, which I think discipline is needed from the Man United manager. Marcus Rashford is unhappy that Manchester United sounded out potential buyers for the forward without informing him. Sources close to Rashford have accused United of informing clubs of the 27-year-old's availability and that he was unaware of developments. So Marcus Rashford apparently is unhappy with INEOS, and this is before he did his interview, because obviously the week or two before he did his interview, there was a lot of reports that INEOS were putting Rashford up for sale, they were going to sell him, this and that. Apparently, INEOS have gone around looking at options for Rashford. Jim Ratcliffe wants to sell Rashford, and Rashford was annoyed when he learned that the club were going behind his back, actually looking at options to sell him, which is why Rashford has decided the club don't back me, I want a new challenge, is essentially what's coming out from Rashford's side of things. Now, from Luckhurst, it said that Ruben Amorim is under no pressure from the United hierarchy to remove Rashford from the squad. Omar Abrada nor Jason Wilcox have interfered with team selections, and the Times said that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and other senior figures at Man United will leave the decision over to Rashford's future with the club completely in the hands of Ruben Amorim. So, now, I'm going to be honest. I think the decision to drop Rashford is on Ruben Amorim. The decision to discipline was on Ruben Amorim. I think Ruben Amorim could be open to selling Rashford to bringing in funds, but I think, as he said, he probably would want Rashford and want him back at his best because we need him back at his best because the attacker not producing. But I do think that the decision on Rashford, I think, will massively come from Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS rather than Amorim. They're saying, the decision on Rashford is coming from Amorim. I think the decision to drop him is from Amorim, but I think the decision to sell Rashford will come from those above Amorim because Jim Ratcliffe is brutal. Jim Ratcliffe doesn't have much patience. Rashford cried after the FA Cup final because he thought he was leaving in the summer. There's always been a feeling that Ratcliffe wants Rashford gone because of his wages, because of FFP and the money that he can bring in. I think that Ratcliffe will push INEOS to sell Rashford. And unless he's really good, I don't think Amorim will say no. I think if Rashford's very good between now and the end of the season, he will stay. If not, I think he will go. But I do think that Amorim will be okay with him going if he's not going to perform this season, of course. But I do think it comes from INEOS. So let's talk about potential replacements because there's a lot of talk about Victor Osimhen coming to Manchester United. Now, I'm going to say take this with a pinch of salt because Turkish media and Italian media are probably the biggest waffle merchants of them all when it comes to news and Man United clicks. But we have been linked to Victor Osimhen a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if United were planning a move if he's available at the right price to reinforce attack. Manchester United are already in contact with Victor Osimhen's representatives. Personal terms would not be an issue. The hardest part will be talking to Napoli, who still expect up to £62 million, and United are ready to consider the transfer. Manchester United are set to ask Napoli for Osimhen for less than £62 million release clause. Osimhen's agent has informed Napoli there could be some news soon, is what is coming out. Now, I think if Victor Osimhen is available for a lot less than the £62 million release clause, I wouldn't be surprised if INEOS acted on that. I think the player would be open to coming to United and playing in the Premier League. It's a good player. I have concerns. I rate Osimhen, fantastic player, but he does need service. He scored a lot of goals because he had a lot of service at Napoli and he scored a lot of headers. We don't provide strikers with service. We still need a left 10. We do. Would I say no to the signing? Absolutely not. For the right price and the right wage, I am very open to Victor Osimhen coming into United because he's a proven striker. But we can bring in all the strikers we want, but we need to improve the service that we give the strikers. So I think United are potentially planning on Victor Osimhen and maybe a move there. But I think United will look at it, speak to Napoli, see how much they could get him for. And if it's too much, I think they'll walk away and look elsewhere. But I think United, if they could get Osimhen on a cheap, they could plan something there. It was also said that Manchester United is set to make a move for AC Milan left back Theo Hernandez. The chance of the player leaving Milan are very high. This is the third or fourth time we've been linked to Theo Hernandez, and we do know that Man United are planning to sign a left wing back in January. I do think Kirkes and Dorgu are probably higher up on the list and could be cheaper, but Hernandez could be one to watch. And apparently, Ruben Amorim is urging Manchester United to build a brand new scouting team in Portugal as well to maybe look at the young talents coming through there, which would be interesting. Now, one area we've got quite well as a club is scouting. We scouted John Duran, we scouted Moises Caicedo, we scouted Haaland, we scouted Julian Alvarez, but we never, actually act upon the good players that we scout. So hopefully we start doing that with Diego Leon, with Saku Kone, etc. Hopefully we are starting to act upon the players that we scout. And in Portugal, they've got some brilliant gems coming up. I think having Ronaldo as an idol for Portuguese kids to listen to, watch up, I feel like there's a new generation of absolute superstars coming through in Portugal. So why was Ahmad benched? Benny McCarthy spoke about this and he said tactically when we set up, the manager Ten Hag felt that Anthony was a better player for the job he wanted. Ahmad is a better player than Anthony, but what happened was he spent 85 million on Anthony. Anthony knew exactly what he wanted to do at Ajax, and Anthony worked for him at Ajax. So he had that trust in Anthony. He wanted a winger that was going to hold the touchline, which suits Anthony's game more than Ahmad, and that's why he justified Anthony playing. But it got to a point where Anthony was playing and being bad. Ahmad was playing and making an impact that Ten Hag just couldn't justify Anthony starting over Ahmad. But he continued to go with Anthony because that was his investment. And that backfired on Ten Hag because Amad Diallo would have probably given him a few more goals and a few more points than Anthony would have had Ahmad played more. And that's what Benny McCarthy says on the situation. And I think the way that Ahmad was treated by Ten Hag was an absolute joke, people. Anyway, I just sped through that, and I know I was speaking at like a million miles an hour, but that is your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. I would say I'd take the Victor Osimhen news with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I don't really trust Italian and Turkish media, but I wouldn't be surprised if Man United were planning on a couple of January signings, and Osimhen and a left wing back being one. Rashford feels sold out by INEOS. We'll probably hear more on that soon as the January window approaches. And I do think the next few weeks of news regarding United will be interesting with the January window. Thank you for watching. Bye.